All right, guys, I think that we're live. I think it's official that we are live, guys. If you're here in the live broadcast, in the chats, let me have an indicator that y'all are here and you're with me and that you can see me clearly and the audio is good, all right? And with that, we will get right into our little broadcast. I'm excited to bring together this information because for those who know me well, and for those who don't, of course, I'm Scorpio Sun and Scorpio Moon. In fact, I have a stellium in Scorpio, which typically means 3 or more placements in one sign, and I have 5 placements in Scorpio. So if you ever wanted to witness or experience the fullness, the depth of what a Scorpio is like, I'm the girl for that, right? So let me know, guys, if you are with me, if you can hear me. I know sometimes there's a slight delay. There's a delay sometimes. Let me know, all right? And we're going to get right onto this, okay? Yay! Did you guys hear my little intro, or was I not in audio or live at that point? If you missed it, I can repeat it. No biggie. This broadcast won't be a very lengthy one, but I am going to cover some concrete, information. I'll be concise with the information bringing forward. You did not hear an intro? Oh my goodness. See, I don't know if y'all hear the intro when I'm like going at it. All right. Let me repeat the intro. Mac Denny says no intro. All right, let's do it round 2. All right. But at least y'all are with me. You can hear me. That's the most important part. So I will take that. I will take it. All right. So let me start with there, all right? No intro? Oh, all right. So no intro. All right. Thank you. All right. Let me first say hello to everyone who is here in the chat, and then I will do the intro one more time. Now I'm wondering if the last few times, if y'all heard those intros before. Either way, all right. So I see Mac Danny, Mac. I see Scout, Inquire, Chrissy. I see Jenzy. I see Kristen. How are you guys? I see Sandra in the house. I see Jenzy. All right, and I think that gets us to the start of us, right? Unless I miss anybody, come in, let me know, all right? All right, so let's go ahead and go over, let me redo the intro. It's Scorpio season, so I will do it again. Let me make sure I'm not lagging in the chat though first. Okay, so Sandra says she did catch a little bit of it. No worries, guys. I'll repeat it, all right? So first and foremost, I hope everyone is doing well. I certainly do. I hope everyone is doing the best that they can given all the, circumstances that we've all faced throughout this entire year. And just, things come up along the way that we're like being bombarded with. So I hope and pray that you guys are making the most of the current environment, all right? So with all that, I'll go into my little intro, all right? Hello, Angel Eyes, how are you? Good to see you. I get always happy when I see familiar names. I know I saw Kristen here earlier too, so we're happy to have you back again, sweetie, we are. All right, so let's do the intro one more time, okay. So this broadcast won't be very lengthy, but I'm gonna cover, I'm sad but happy but sad, I'm a Scorpio, so this is the end of Scorpio season. It is so much to uncover, but let me just, again, this is the intro. So Scorpio season is officially coming to a close. It is. And not officially until I think the 21st, we go into the next season, but we are coming to a close, at least this broadcast and this season itself. Scorpio season is coming to a close. And For those who do or don't know, I have my sun and my moon sign in the sign of Scorpio. In fact, I have a stellium in Scorpio. Typically, a stellium means 3 or more placements in one sign, and I have 5 placements in the sign of Scorpio. So for those who've never engaged with like a true, deep Scorpio, I'm the girl. So with that being said, I take this season very, deeply important with a lot of, there's a lot going on. And so that's why you saw several of my broadcasts here recently covering Scorpio season more than usual, right? So that was a little intro. The title of this broadcast is completion of cycles, all right? And I'm going to cover what that means, what it looks like, all right, guys? So we have a lot to uncover and unpack, all right? I want to make sure, hold on, let me want to make sure this is not ring, guys. Hold up. Otherwise, this might ring, my laundry might ring. Shit. I'm back. All right, I'm back. Sorry. Of course, I'm always doing laundry, so I didn't want like those to like alarm off and sound out. All right. So getting back to business. So this broadcast is going to close out Scorpio season. All right, and it's been the journey. Yes, it is. Especially, predominantly, this season has. And you can relate in your own ways if this, resonates with you. But what you've noticed, what you may have noticed as you look back in the last, 30, 45 days, is that a lot of things were unveiled, right? A lot of truths came to the light, welcomed or not, they came forward front and center, and they couldn't be avoided. And even if you deny that element of truth to yourself, your inner heart and your inner soul, your consciousness still knew the clarity and the truth, right? Sometimes we can, find ourselves in like denial, but we still know, right? There's a distinction with that. And so what Scorpio season has done, at least in our own ways, and it will vary from person to person, but what it has done is brought things to clarity, right? Whatever in your life that you've been encountering, facing, trying to like juggle or define, or maybe kind of pinpoint, or maybe you're looking for like some more answers on like this topic or this subject matter, or with your family members in here, or maybe with your own personal self, right? Maybe you're on a self-discovery journey. But no matter what you're doing in life and what areas of life that are being affected, I can guarantee you, when you hone in and go into introspective viewpoint, a lot of things have definitely come to the surface. Clarity and insight has been brought. Now, if you're not opened and awake and listening, then yeah, you'll miss the signs. So you're not guaranteed to get them, but if you are alert, awake, and open to receive, being receptive, then whatever area of your life that you have been really honing in on, right, or asking, seeking information, questions, clarity, insight, wisdom, your intuition, if you are doing the right part of the process, then I can promise and assure you that the divine realm, right, your own higher self, has been bringing you those clues that you've been seeking, either verbally or not verbally, right, consciously or unconsciously. They're coming to the light, all right? And so this is interesting because it creates an inner conflict, not for everyone, but it can have the effect of creating an inner conflict. And let me explain what I mean by that. All right, give me a second. All right, I'm back. Sorry, I had my AC on way too freaking cold. I'm freaking freeze. I'm gonna freeze. Okay. So, with all the information that's come to light, whether it's more personal or external, like maybe like in social environments, whatever it is for you, information has come to the light and you are now trying to process, synthesize, and make sense of the information, the knowledge, the insight, right? Now, this can tend to leave a person conflicted to some degree. If you are someone who tends to naturally resist change, then you're going to find yourself feeling like, how do you make sense of the information you learned? Or if you're somebody who doesn't really keep an open perspective or an open mind, then you'll also feel that, level of, well, more resistance again. So if you're operating from a fixed mindset, or if you are someone who doesn't like to come up for air and like look around what's happening, what's going on, if you're not being perceptive or receptive, then you'll bury yourself in whatever was, right? You may not even know the insights that are coming through because you're just not aware, you're not tapped in. But for those who are tapped in, right, information has come where it's left us in the driver's seat of our life. Now, we're always in the driver's seat, but during this season of all seasons, the information has come so clear as day. It's so clear that it's not in your best favor to resist the truth, the clarity, the insight, the wisdom, all right? You can still do as you choose because we all have free will. Everyone has free will. Nobody on this earth, this planet no one can make you do anything, okay? Because you have your own free will. Everyone does. We all do. It would be not wise to go against your own higher self, but that happens in life, right? We see a lot of people who repeat old patterns for cycles and decades and years, eons, right? But if you are at this moment in time and you're here in this broadcast, I really believe with my heart and my soul that you are getting the intuitive insights, the downloads. They're coming in, they could be small and minimal. They're coming in and you're hearing them, okay? Even if you don't know what to discern of it at this point, being open to more information, then you're on the path, the correct path. Even if you get clear insights and you don't know what to do with the information, that's good too. Regardless of where you're at on that part of the process, assure yourself that the new information, which can seem uncomfortable, unfamiliar, and it can feel like it's, it can actually feel like it's challenging your core beliefs, right? Yes, it can. But the reason why that could be possibly happening for some of you out there, right, is because sometimes these previous foundations that we have built our identity upon, our personality, our identity, our personality, some of these key areas and these key layers that we built who we are, our perceptive abilities of who we are and how we believe that we're presenting ourselves to the world, right, externally. All of these things we built ourselves on past ideologies, past belief systems, okay? Now, it doesn't mean that all of them are not correct. It does not mean that they're all right either. But what it does come into play is the information that you're getting in that will vary from person to person, right? All of us are on different journeys and we're at different parts of this journey. This path is so long. It's the long game, right? So whatever's coming through for you at this point in time is the area of your life that maybe you're more focused upon working on, right? It varies for all of us, okay? And so whatever is coming through, it's making you face it. Yes, you're looking at it right then in the eye. Yes, you are. Whether it's your family and home front, whether it's your partnerships, spouse, or romantic interests, or whether it's your children, whether it's your work, your finances, your career, whether it's your friends and your group of circles, whoever you've got in your corner, your mentors. It could even be, honestly, how you saw the world previously, right? How you view the environment, right? So what's coming into play is a completion. That's why I called the video completion of cycles. So much of who we have been in the last decade, okay? So much of who we have been in the last decade has served us valuably up until this point, all right? We're not gonna condemn ourselves for who we've been. We're not doing that. But we're gonna acknowledge that maybe all of those parts that built us to this precipice, to this point, right? Not all those parts of us go with us in the next decade. All right, guys? Not all those elements, not all those traits go with us in this next decade. They don't. Some parts of us will go forward, but not all parts of us. And we have to be okay with confronting the mirror, right? Last week, it was last week, we kind of talked about mirror work a little bit. And so when you look in the mirror, you are facing your true self, yourself, right? And maybe people in your life can be the mirror to you, depending on how open you are to perceive and receive the information that the divine is trying to bring you and confront you with, right? And so it's important that we are holding the space and being compassionate for ourselves too, because we're growing, right? And we're growing on this journey and we're at different paces. But we want to be gentle with helping our own inner self navigate forward. But we want to be really strict and clear with ourselves, with acknowledging and confronting the parts of clarity that came to the surface that showed us, hey, XYZ parts of you aren't going to go forward. You understand that, right? And you know what the answers for your own self. And then you have to accept that willingly, right? Now you can do whatever you want. You can reject and resist, but you know the parts of you that have outstayed its course, right? That have outgrown its place, all right? And you're going to only bring forward the best of you forward. We are we're entering a new decade, all right, of completion. We have completed the last decade of our life, and we have faced a lot of things in the last decade, all right? A lot of things have come to a close. Some elements we were desperately waiting to come to a close, and some parts of ourselves, we resisted the closure, right? But either way, we have faced completion, whether we like it or not, all right? And the importance of this is that we move forward in the new decade, right? With inner integrity of self, right? Because at the end of the day, it's between you and you. It's not between anyone else. At the end of the day, it's between you and no one else. And no one else knows what you do, but you do. And it's time for us to, rid ourselves of the things that we know aren't good for us. Why stay in that, right? Let's transform, let's heal and transmute any parts of ourselves that need some healing on us, right? And let's decide. Let's take definitive action steps toward the betterment of our own self, innerly and externally, but still for self, okay? It is not selfish when I say for self. It's actually the most conducive to really helping anybody beyond yourself. If you can't help yourself, you cannot help anyone else. So, let me know, guys, if you're with me and if this is resonating. Let me know. All right, I'm going to keep going. No one can decide but you alone what does serve you, what doesn't serve you. Your higher self will know what is in your favor and not in your favor, right? You can resist the truth and be in denial, but when you take that position, you're only delaying the true abundance that awaits you on the other side of that equation, So maybe you've had some loss in the last decade. Maybe you've had a lot of sorrow, loss of income, loss of loved ones, loss of stability, loss of emotional, heartbreak, whatever you have felt that you have lost, right? It was never in vain. It's not for the purpose of, well, the universe just gave me this situation and I don't know, what do I do with it? And how come me and why me? And, I didn't deserve this. I didn't even do anything to get this, right? I urge you to consider that for a moment, if it's possible, right? Not for everyone, but if you can hold the space of compassion for yourself, your inner child, and trust that there is more that you are being brought into, right, to develop and come into more of a self-awareness, right, to harness and leverage forward, because you wouldn't even be here in this group, you wouldn't be watching my channel if you didn't feel the message. I can guarantee you of that information. I have a small little community. I can guarantee you, if you didn't feel me and you didn't feel the truth, you wouldn't be here. So trust in my belief that there is information coming through that we have to consider within ourselves, right, as oneself, right? There's things that we must push forward. There's things, there's projects. We all have inner callings that have been on the back burner, right? Maybe you don't even call them an inner calling. Maybe, ideas you want to do, but, will you, won't you, right? Or maybe, just thoughts you've considered. They're not even ideas yet. They're just, I'll consider writing a book. I'll consider going on a date. I'll consider, putting my health in check. I'll consider whatever it might be for you, okay? But you wouldn't be here with me, listening intently, hopefully, if you didn't feel that, you are part of this journey that we call the soul's journey. See, in life, we're trained and conditioned to think that the outcome, the objective, the accomplishment is the desired prize. But we have been mistaken. The true prize, the true happiness exists when we are on the journey. We have the self-awareness in real time, in present time, knowing, hey, I'm on this journey. Do I have objectives and goals I want to accomplish or achieve? Yes. I have those in mind, yes. But I'm focused in real time, and I'm going to enjoy this process, all the hardships, all the pain, the loss, the heartache. I'm going to enjoy the good and the bad, but I know at all times I am on this journey, and I chose to be on this journey through thick and through thin, through heart and loss. I'm here. You're breathing, you're alive, and you're here. You are here for a reason. Your heart, your soul, you know it. Yes, you do. You know it. You can't escape it. It's undeniable. You know it. We kind of dismiss it, or we put it on the back burner, or we try to distract ourselves from those pieces of ourselves, but they're always coming up, creeping up, whispering in the ear, right? They're there. They're always there. Yes, they are there. We have a lot to do, all right? And sometimes we limit our ability. No, sometimes we limit what we believe we can accomplish. We want to play small. Sometimes we play too small, right? I have done it before. Has anyone else here where you'll set the goal almost like attainable so that you don't let yourself down? Has anybody else been there? Oh, I know I have. I have been there so many times, right? I had to begin to really raise the bar on myself, even if that meant failure was inevitable. Yes. Because if you put the dream, the vision, the desire too low or too attainable, you're not really stretching. You're not really growing. We can deceive ourselves internally to tell us, here's my goal. I'm going to be on this part of the journey. I want to accomplish X, Y, and Z. That's fine. You start somewhere. Start somewhere. If you have no goals, that's okay too. Start there. But for those who understand where I'm coming from, part of you also knows that your own, and trust me, to your inner self, you can't, it's transparent. Once you know truth, you can't deny truth. So internally, you still know you're capable of more. You have more potential. But do you want to put the effort in there? No. And do I really want to tell anybody else about these goals and these visions? No, not really, because then I gotta hold myself to higher standards. And you know what? Let me do behind the scenes. Let me do it when no one's, I'll keep it in my mind and I'm all right. I'll do it, right? But what happens with that approach? Nothing typically takes place. We convince ourselves and we justify and we validate, or we make reasons, right, of why this, why that, and it just goes nowhere for a long time. But right now, We are entering a new decade, and this is a brand new version of you. This is the time where you step in to your personal greatness. It doesn't mean it's overnight. Nothing is overnight. And most people in here are older, so we know ain't nothing overnight. Right? We know that. And so we don't want to have the expectation of, I jump in this thing and here I am gonna like get X, Y, Z. No, but we have to, right? We have to bet on ourselves. Take the chance on you. If there's anyone in this world that you know best, it's you, right? And you're worth it. You're definitely worth it. But do you believe you're worth it? Or are you holding back and playing small because we're scared? Right? It's okay if we're scared. It's understandable. I get scared too. No one's like superhuman. We get scared. We play small. We hold back. We pull back. Oh, it gets too much. When it becomes too real, we clam up. We go into our shell. We're like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. I thought I wanted it. Well, it's so close. I think am I worthy of it? Can I even do it? Can I pull it off? What's going to happen? I'm going to fail. I'm going to fall, right? Has anybody been there? I have been there. I've definitely been there. So there's a lot that's taking place as we close out Scorpio season. So if you don't really know where you're at on that part, that's okay. Start with this part first. Start with self-acceptance. So if you don't know where to begin and you have a lot of things going on in your mind, hey, Ryan. Guys, if you don't know Ryan Keys, he has got his own awesome YouTube channel. If one of the moderators can place his link here, or if he can do it somehow, I can mod him and he can place his link for those who don't know his link. But he has got a great channel, a great channel. And he's written a book. Guys, if you have not checked out his channel, you gotta do so. So for those who are watching the replay, and those who are here, let me pause and get the book. I've got it back here. Hold up, guys. I got the books. Hold up. So if somebody can put his link, and then Ryan, I'll mod you for that. We can put your own link there if no one can find you. So give me a second, and I'm gonna get his book, guys. Hold up. All right, let me get it. I got it right here. Hold up. I got it right here. All right. Woohoo! Okay, so I modded him for those who don't know. And maybe if he's brave enough, he can jump on here and share a little bit about his journey regardless. I mean, I don't know if he's too tired. I'm not going to pressure anyone. But guys, let me show you his book here. That way, so if you don't know who he is, he has a channel on YouTube here. He's been out here for a while now. Ryan, how long has it been? It's been quite a while, guys. It's been quite a while. Y'all want Ryan to come up on the screen? You're gonna have to like help me convince him. All right, yes. So we got, put the link there for Ryan Keys. He's written a book called Soul. Wait, hold on. Let me properly say this. Putting the Soul Back in Soul Mates. So let me show you guys the book. Let me get it here for a second. All right, here it is. All right, so next time, okay. Yeah, totally. All right, awesome. Yeah, when he comes up next time, he can chat about his own experience and he can talk more about his book, but I will at least show it to you guys. And then next time he can go into more detail about it. So let me see if y'all can see this. Oh yeah, you can. Hold up. Let me stand up here. hold on. I'm on StreamYards, so sometimes it's like backward. Hold up. Can y'all see it or no? Wait, okay, I hear, I think. I think so. Yes? Is it visible? Well, anyways, hopefully y'all can see it, right? Right, Ryan? Oh my God, I know. I swear, I have had like insomnia during the Scorpio season. It's been a lot. You know, my sleep patterns have been a little bit off. I mean, whose sleep patterns have not during this whole year anyways, but definitely, for sure. So yeah, so when Ryan comes on next time, he can put his link to the Amazon link, right? And he can talk more about it, you know, that way he can discuss it. I don't want to do it in unjust by not giving the full background, the depth of it. So we'll say that for next time. But he does have a channel. He's been on YouTube, and he's a great human being, a soul. Such a contribution toward humanity. If I had to give a sentence, I would say, what a beautiful gift from the divine as a contribution toward humanity. Most definitely. Yes. So as we were chatting about Scorpio season, it's been really, really challenging, guys. This has been the season that has really kind of left us in disarray. It's kind of been the season that has challenged us the most because we've been faced with a lot of internal conflict, of course, externally as well, but I care more about the inner self, because the inner self is how you best harness who you are. And we have been faced with a lot of inner conflict because we've been faced with the realities of information. Clarity on so many levels have been brought to our inner attention, right? Maybe relationships, work, career, finance, all areas of life we've been getting the insight, the downloads, and the wisdom, okay? And it's probably brought us a little bit of, kind of like, you know, it rocks the boat, right? It challenges the foundation. And for most of us, the whole foundation is broken, okay? But don't be afraid of the broken foundation. Don't be afraid that what's coming in feels like a disruption, right? Because sometimes we have built our belief systems, our ideologies, our viewpoint, our vision, our dreams on old ways of thinking that no longer serve us as we walk in to the new decade, right? So if anything, this is completing cycles that have been long overdue to come to a full close, okay? And as we venture out into the new cycle, the new decade, we are now going to take the parts of us from the past that did serve us well, all right? But not all parts of us come forward, right? Not all parts come forward, but we're gonna take the parts that we did see value in, right? And let go and release and surrender the elements, the areas, the people, the situations, the whatever it is, right, that had been holding you back, keeping you kind of like in a comfort zone possibly, or keeping you stagnant or stuck, right? That must be shed and released in a safe manner, right? That feels in alignment with yourself. And as we walk into the unknown, let's do it with personal sovereignty and honor and trusting in the higher power that does have our back. There's a higher power at play that most certainly is supporting us as we take one step forward, right? And yes, those steps look very scary, and it's probably like an abyss, a blackness, the darkness. But darkness doesn't always mean negative. Darkness and you know, the blackness or the unknown doesn't always mean that it's, you know, negative at all. It just means it's unfamiliar, right? So if you're riding a bike for the first time, that's scary, right? So we're going to be venturing out into this new decade, right? With like new armor, maybe no armor at all, right? And we're taking those steps little by little. And we're going to create the new vision of what we desire, what we're seeking forward. We're going to go ahead and create a new world that we do want to participate in. And we're not going to control things around us. We're going to only be in control of our inner emotions, right? The thinking patterns, our mind, our dialogue in our head that's running the tape, the subconscious. We're going to be in control of how we react, how we respond. We're going to be in control of what we decide to place our attention on, whether it's subjects or topics or groups of people. Maybe it's organizations, or maybe, you know, we all consume content, right? So we'll be more deliberate, more intentional with where we place that valuable thing that we call attention, right? We're not going to place it just anywhere, and we don't want to be scattered. See, Scorpio is very intense, right? It is. But the beautiful part is that it's very focused. It's very deliberate, focused, and it wants to hone in on either an area or a subject, right? And so as we close out this old decade, this whole cycle, and we venture off into a new endeavor, a new part of ourselves, a new version of ourselves. This is a new decade coming in, guys. This is massive. This is huge. This is going to be nothing like we ever saw before. This is a whole new transcendence of humanity, the collective. And we're on this journey together as a group. And even if we're at different parts of the pace of the journey, either way, we're still holding hands. We're walking together like a tribe. We're walking. We're all taking the steps. Yes, we are. So, you know, if that resonates, guys, let me know for sure. Does that resonate, guys, with what I'm saying? Oh my God, Ryan. Ryan, you at least come up and say it. Give us a couple of sentences, Ryan. Guys, let's come up here and give a couple of sentences. That way, those who watch the replay can hear a couple of words. You don't think I'm on camera. You don't think I'm on camera, but your voice, right? The icon, I'll put the link. I'll put the link, guys. If he's brave, he'll come at least say hello. That way, those who watch the broadcast, the replay, could at least know. Edit copy. Here's the link. If he's brave enough, he'll come up and say hello. He don't have to be on the camera. He has his own channel. He goes on the camera. So, but if he's brave, he'll come up there and at least say hello and walk us through a couple of sentences. That's all. But we'll have him on another time to go in more depth, but at least it's something. But he has, you know, like I said earlier, if I had to put into like a sentence or two on how I would describe him, if I'm a stranger talking to someone else, I'd say, man, what a divine gift for humanity. Definitely. Definitely. And when you meet very beautiful souls, you don't forget them, right? They're rare, like rare gems, right? I don't want to, like, you know, give all the details to him, because I want him to be able to express his own experience. And we can do a different broadcast on that. But he is such a great guy, guys, such a great guy. And like I said, here is the book. Hold on. However, he has not autographed my book. Ryan, I'm going to mail it back to you. I need you to autograph my book, please. So guys, yes, if we're lucky, he'll come up and just chat. Otherwise, you know, next time, you know, I don't want to pressure anyone. I'll never pressure anyone. Thank you, Chrissy. Thank you, Sandra. Definitely. Right. Yeah. It's so nice when you do find people in the world that you can connect with and bond and, you know, create, you know, communion with. And when they're a really good soul, and you'll know they stand out for a reason, right? So I'm not sure if he has social media. It's been a long time. What does he say? I actually dropped the book Kindle. Oh, Ryan, come at least say hello to us, Ryan. I'll put the link in here again. You don't have to be on the camera. You can just use the voice. Have you ever used StreamYards? I know, I'm not sure if you have, but with StreamYards, with this link, so you know, when you click it on your phone or whatever, you don't have to be on the camera. All right, then click it. Click it. If you're in the dark, you're fine. No one can see you anyways. They want to hear your voice. They're not here for the face or for the visual. Come up here and say a couple of things with your voice. It's your book. That way, at least those who watch this broadcast have some more context around it. Otherwise, everyone's in the dark. And we're going into the lights. Come on, guys. All right, guys, for those who have jumped on a broadcast with StreamYards, it's very simple. It's very simple. And you don't have to be on the camera. You click the link. You click the link, guys, right? He clicks the link and just his voice. Come up and say hello. Okay, I think we got him. Let's see. I think we get lucky. Let's see if we got him. Let's see. Is he here?
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Oh yes, we hear you. Okay,
yeah.
I think we got him. Let's see. Okay, so hold on. So you'll have to pause your actual.
Hold on. I gotta turn my the sound down on the video because it immediately had an overlap.
All right, awesome. Yay! So Ryan, so you're not in the camera, but your voice is there. That way, at least they can get a little bit of, insight into who you are, a little bit, whatever you want to chat about. It's very informal this moment. We'll do a more formal one next time. This is more of a laid back, informal, just, hey, how are you?
I'm good. I am just embracing the Scorpio season. Yeah, season of shifting. It's like being in the fun house, when the floor tips and like moves side to side and you feel like you can't keep your balance.
Yes, like a teeter-totter, like, woo.
Yeah. It's that shifting floor in the fun house that isn't fun at all.
No, it is not. It is not. It's been challenging. It has been a little disruptive, a little uncomfortable, right? A little uncomfortable.
Well, it's like I just had somebody that they left a comment on my Instagram because I did a crazy Instagram live today, which was really intense. And he was talking about loneliness and how loneliness has been such a major effect in what he's been feeling and going through. And I replied, I said, the first step is to step into the idea of loneliness head on, overwhelm it with love and all actions of love, dig deep into gratitude, find the layers in life that support an idea of what you have.
Yeah.
If you can't find something parallel, you have to engage the energy that's harbored as loneliness to build the areas you have control of currently, to go towards togetherness. And the comment goes on, but I got a ding from Instagram and a link to the CDC website because they said it's COVID related.
What? No, how is that possible?
Because at the bottom of it, I said this would be giving time, support, and attention to obvious places like life, friends, self-work, activities that engage in interrelationships. And all I said was COVID has made this more difficult, but it can be done.
Yes.
So I just mentioned the word COVID, and it got flagged. And I've already experienced so much YouTube suppression and de-throttling and copyright. Like I got a copyright infringement for like my own voice. Like,
No, I believe you. I do believe that because I know that, like, yes, that's very accurate, and it's happened to a lot of people. Even if you're not even talking about the whole topic of COVID at all, you mention it one time, and there you go, like buried.
yeah, yeah. And, and I think it's literally it's just the icing on the cake of 2020 because 2020 it's not about, everybody's like making this about
Yeah.
it's easily distracted. We can like make it about like politics or elections or things like that. But actually this is more high kind of like an elevation of human consciousness. Like as you know, I get like, especially ever since ayahuasca, but because of my near death, I get all kinds of insane downloads that are just like super intricate and overlayered with all kinds of like information. And one of the things that I got was, I haven't actually even talked about this one yet, but that Christmas, COVID is actually coming for Christmas on purpose. And the reason why isn't because it's not about the minds of men that are manipulating it, or it's not about the disease itself. It's about the idea that Christmas has become a bit of a disease in its own right.
Yeah.
And COVID is designed to bring us back to a more of a human, like our humanity.
Yeah.
And it's designed to, like, even Thanksgiving, like, it's like, okay, so if you can only have a party at your house with 6 people, who will those 6 people be? You know? Or if Christmas comes, like no Black Friday, none of these things. So all of the routines that we became so steeped in and so lost in. And granted, we all love them, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I love, like, I'm totally a Christmas hound. I've been playing Christmas music on my Amazon thing for like the past week. But at the same time, here you have this situation that begs you to reinvestigate the values and the reasons for why we are living our life,
Yeah.
you know, the separation. So if you can only get out for 3 hours a day, what are you going to do? You're not going to go sit in line at In and Out. You're going to go to the park, you know,
Yeah.
if you can only, or you're going to go to the gym because you're like thriving in a place where you're like, I need this. And you go to where you feel empowered. So I think we're seeing this, and it's this higher level consciousness that's utilizing lower level um, stupidity and ignorance, and also, unknowing and fear is being utilized to actually form a new opinion in our kind of human concept. And it just goes to show you, like I said earlier in the Instagram, everything, even on a molecular level, is balanced, whether it's positive, negative charge, there's always a neutral charge. And it all has to maintain its same space, spin around the center point, and provide energy. And it's sending us in a new direction, which is great, but it's difficult because it's hard. And that's Scorpio season for sure.
Yes.
I've just done like a monologue. It's
No,
not
no,
nice.
no, no, no. They're all liking it. They want to hear more. So if you're comfortable, keep going. This is great, and I think it's important. I like to free flow sometimes because that's how it's sometimes designed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Well,
a lot of
I'll put
the
my,
best
I'm going to
topics.
put my Instagram there so
Please.
people can check out the live I did.
So was it suppressed? The link that you did, is it suppressed? Or like,
Um,
is it taken away, or how do they find it? Yeah, put the link that way they can
I'm
just.
putting that's my Instagram. Um, no, so I found, even like I had a YouTube video that I just put a YouTube video talking about the age of Aquarius and the up level of spiritual technology. It's not an up level at all. It's actually, we're uncovering that they have utilized over uh, um, okay, think of it like this. Like, if I saw an alien, right? And I said, "Oh, I saw an alien," and I described the ship and I described the experience. Well, if I will, when you hear telephone, like 10 times later, 10 times it's told 10 times, and then it's like expanded. And now it's like Star Wars. So what's happened with all of our spiritual technology that we're incorporated with on this internal level,
Yes.
whether it's telepathy, intuition, etc.,
Yes.
it is, it's been overly described so that it could be dumbed down.
Yeah.
so that the actual power of what intuition is minimized because, oh, you can't pick the winning lottery number. But
Right.
it's not about that, right? It's about the quality. Like what COVID is dialing us back into is to the quality that makes us feel content, that makes us feel secure. It's realigning the fabric, right? It's taking us back to the source, which source is very simple. Energy has positive and negative and neutrality,
Yes.
and that creates through bonding.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like I was also explaining that through the process of this simplicity, it's the same thing. Like, and even when we come together, we're trying to be forced into this cohesive melting pot where we lose our identity, which
Yeah.
is actually disenfranchising source. Because even if you take a water molecule, hydrogen doesn't absorb into oxygen and become one molecule. It
Yeah.
keeps its structure and
Yeah.
supports the difference.
Yes. Yes.
So,
I love that. No, I
you know,
love it. I agree with that. Yes, I do. I love
and
that.
that's what I was talking about in the video. What was in the coming age of Aquarius, the spiritual technology and how they're trying to fabricate the technology, man-made technology, to kind of still steer us into that direction where they can control it. And YouTube like flagged me and like suppressed the video and did all this other stuff, so I had to repost it again. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But this has been happening for a while because I used to get like 300,000 views on a video,
Yeah.
and then it went down to like 500 because I started talking about more spiritually based sound experiences like telepathy.
Yes.
Like the idea that telepathy isn't about, it's not a superpower. It's a way of seeing life through emotion. And
Yeah.
it's being, it's accessing the heart as a looking glass, not the head. And
Yeah.
the way people want that telepathy described is a very head end game, right?
Yeah.
And all of these things, like an animal is telepathic, a tree is telepathic, but because the simple answer is always too simple, we have to expand it and make it great. And then it can't be proven because the grandeur of it is deceiving. But the simplicity of it is where survival and where the actual source is located.
Yes. Yes. I agree with that 100%. And they suppress that like more like special spiritual information. I feel like it's twofold, a little bit on purpose, and also there's multi purposes of why they may do things. Either way, it's not conducive for like humanity, for consciousness itself, because we shouldn't be suppressed because we're discussing certain topics. That doesn't make any sense. But of course, in the world that we live in at this point, yes, those are elements that do they want to hide it, or they make it either hard to discuss, or they categorize like taboo, or they say it's XYZ. And so then we're like, not forbidden, but it's harder to find that kind of information. Would you agree? It's harder to find kind of like quality content, like your channel,
Well,
like your channel.
here's the thing I've been really like coming to terms with, because I like to do the whole in the world, not of the world, right? Like I become the observer. And what I've been noticing is when I observe nature for most of my law, right? I use animals and how we interact on a very primitive level to give me the insight that isn't found in kind of bureaucracy or books. And when I look at something as simple as trying to investigate something like that, like suppression, then I'm keyed back into that source is designed for an animal to accelerate their survival, right? So the idea that information is being suppressed is in a way still an access point where source is saying, do you want to live? Do you want to rise? Do you want to shine? And it's up to us, just like it is up to a squirrel to store nuts for the winter, to go out and to do that work and be rewarded for the work. And so many things have just occurred in the world in such a lazy fashion because it's just been laid out, and it's been too easy. So the next level, like, and if you think about the idea that we came from a garden, and per se, if you want to pursue that point, the garden still didn't grow by itself in the sense of we were the manicures of it. We were the overseers. We were the people that watched it and tended to it. So that took work for us to be there in the present form with nature and source. And we've lost the idea that life is work. We've gone into a space where we feel that life owes us. And God source does, and even like when I was very religious, I was going to be a preacher. I don't know if I told you that before or not, but when I had my near death, I kind of moved away from that only because I realized God doesn't just give you something. God gave you everything you need already, but it requires you to build and put it together like a molecule, like water, hydrogen and oxygen have to work together to create water. So, on the most primitive, microscopic level, we see what we have to do. We see that how the sun and the earth revolve on the macroscopic level, how gravity works, how the centrifugal force of the earth works to hold us. So then we have to do the same thing. We have to move in that way, and really that's what awakening is. It's when you are in alignment and understanding that the work required to be in that awoken state is the way of the world. To sit back and to fast food it, or to see that to think it's just going to show up like the law of attraction, you're doing yourself a disservice. The reason why 87% of the people fail at the law of attraction is because they think they can just project it from the board.
Yeah.
But what's happening is it is successful. They're projecting it, but it's not being provided for because it does require you to actually to exercise that projection. And that's the part that's keeping us suppressed, is our own lack of understanding that it takes skill and it takes support, but it also takes effort to engage with energy. Energy, it doesn't die, it changes form. But energy that's stagnant, like a water source that doesn't move, it stagnates and it pollutes itself. So that's going to create these feelings that we harbor, like the comment I said about loneliness.
Mhm.
Loneliness exists because we've allowed it. You don't have to feel lonely. You can feel what loneliness is, but it's up to you whether you stay in that station. And many times, because we haven't had the proper instruction from even our spiritual leaders, which are failing us,
Yes.
but in their failure, they actually are helping us find it ourselves, which is how source works on the highest level.
Yes.
So as we move through this, we understand that that stagnancy has to be stirred within us. So, because Deepak Chopra, Wayne Dyer, any of these people, brilliant minds, but they're not our savior.
They're
Only
not.
we save ourselves. And I think that that's the whole point of why even in the Gnostics, when they added the quote in, you can teach a man, you can feed a man, or you can teach a man, right? So this is the thing. Everything should be designed to teach a man to teach himself. And then the actions that are put on in that movement forward teach other people from example. That's why the hundred monkey effect works, where the hundredth monkey that does a particular thing, all the monkeys now around the world have this symbiotic knowledge of like, well, if I use this rock as a tool, you know, and then I think we're also finding out as we see, like, I was hyper concerned. My humanity was hyper concerned for a second when I saw that they legalized or decriminalized drugs in Oregon, and the part of me that is socialized was like, what? No way, that's horrible. But then the part of me that can stand outside of that situation and observe was like, holy shit, pardon my French.
Yeah, I know. I'm with
And
you
Mama
there.
Gaia source has set it up so that people can find her, because plant medicine has been around for a long time. As you know, I've done ayahuasca and then I'm going to
Yeah.
do wachuma. Plant medicine is not for everybody, but
Yeah.
if it calls to you, because there's proof now, even Terence McKenna had gone through,
Yeah.
that what moved us from monkeys to man was mushrooms.
Yeah. Yep.
And
I'm with you there.
even like the reindeer in Norway, that's
I'm
what
with you there.
created like the reindeer that fly on the sleigh,
Yeah.
because
No.
they would eat the mushrooms when the snow melted and they would be totally tripping balls.
Yeah.
And when I did ayahuasca, I went to this grid and I was able to I connected with 13 pieces of the soul that are expressed as different parts or aspects, like a branch on a tree. And I was able to find 8 of those here in real time. Um, and it's just interesting. Some of the experiences are just they're
Sorry. Oh, sorry.
too strong to be mentally made up. And I think
No,
even when you look at the
they're not made up at all. That's real
right,
experiences. No, that's very real. Do you mind chatting? I'm sorry. Let me get some water.
go
But do
for
you
it.
mind talking a little bit about that? Because it's important. Well, let me get some water. But can you chat
Sure.
about that? I like some water real fast. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, God. Um, you know, I was opposed to doing ayahuasca myself. I was really opposed, but I was at a point where I felt, even after working, trying to help people with consciousness, after experiencing two near death situations myself, I felt that I was ready to take a leap of faith and to pioneer. I had studied people like Terence McKenna and Dennis McKenna. I'd looked into several scientific studies, like they're working with prisoners in Brazil, some studies in Spain, and I started seeing that Portugal and other places were legalizing the use of a psychedelic compound. And I saw that on a physiological level, there was benefit. It reset the serotonin uptake, and it literally has a lasting effect of up to 5 to 6 years to increase that serotonin to a level where it's in its natural state of production as childhood. So it, in a sense, takes your physiology of how you're transforming information back to being 8 years old again, where it's got that spark of life. Now, when you investigate several different Gnostic texts that talk about the luminous body, many of these texts were derived from different types of psychedelic involvement, whether it was tea or whether it was using, sometimes like Nostradamus used a poison compound, which is not recommended. But even in my near death, when I was 33 years old and I drowned in a river and I woke up on the other side walking with Jesus for about 15 years, at the wedding when he turned water to wine, this was back in like 2003, when Yeshua at that point showed me that he's like, well, how I turn water to wine is I take this bag and I put it in the water bottle or the clay jars. And that was a compound that involved iboga, which is, I didn't realize until that later studying, preparing for ayahuasca, that Terence said iboga is called the wedding wine in Gabon, Africa. And it made so much sense that he kind of consummated this marriage by turning the water into wine, which was actually a psychedelic experience, which brings that high level love in that place. And I just felt that, I love the fact that he did miracles, but I also love the fact that he was an alchemist and a scientist before science was even a thing. I love those ideas because what it does is it redefines the spirit of Yeshua and the ability when he said, "You'll do those things and greater." It really gives context, and it makes me feel I'm not this just tiny speck floating on this island in the middle of some kind of soup. I actually, he gave me a blueprint or a pattern that comes from a human perspective. He
Yeah.
showed me his humanity. And it's the same thing when I did ayahuasca. When I did ayahuasca in Oakland, because it's legal there, and it's legal now in the DC
Yeah.
as well.
Legal, right? I'm not sure if it's legal, but
Yep.
many people have done it. Yeah. So go ahead.
And the experience itself, I was like mortified. And honestly, I have to say, it was one of the most traumatic experiences of my life. Even dying wasn't as difficult as going through 6.5, 7 hours of ayahuasca. I mean, I tracked from whether it was from seeing the beginning of the universe to being a Mayan priest at the top of Chichen Itza in Tulum at Coba, and then moving to Uluru, doing a walkabout around that sacred mountain there. And then also I tracked to Atlantis, where I actually, Phil is like, me and Phil were talking because Phil is actually we were basically brothers in Atlantis, which is kind of crazy, which is cool.
Oh, no, that's awesome.
And every time I started going into these places, it was interesting because she showed up as this beautiful iridescent boa that was like, wrapped around my body, holding me, keeping me warm, keeping me safe. But when I would be too far into a journey, I would feel this squeeze, and she would get right up in my face and say, "Okay, so come back to heal." And she would squeeze and I would raise up and I would puke in my bucket. And then I would come back and I would look around the room and I would see, wait, I'm not in the room, but I am. And I would, all my insecurities, anything that I had been harboring, fear, doubt would find me. And then she would process it and I would work through it during that time. And it was just this experience of revelation, of integration. And then when I was done, it was funny because, well, I actually went and I helped Catherine pass of cancer. And then I came back, and it was COVID. And I actually got COVID as well
Wow.
in
Okay.
April. And the interesting fact of all of that is that I came back from ayahuasca. I went to work because, as you know, I'm a medical professional,
Yeah.
and I went back to work, and everybody was like, "Wow, what is different with you?" And I had the capacity because I could be a real asshole at sometimes, right? I could be a dick, and at work especially because I was very much of a perfectionist when it comes to like how my clinical side is and how
You're
it's set
making me
up,
laugh a little bit. I'm
right?
sorry.
So what?
No, not in a happy way. In a happy way, not in a bad way though. In a happy
Oh,
way.
okay, I thought it was like maybe I need to get a beep or something like beep.
No, 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 no.
You'll have to click that not rated for kids. But
Oh, no, we don't have that here.
right. And then so here I am. I'm sitting there, I'm at work, and I'm having a conversation with a girl that prior to ayahuasca I actually really despised. And it which is sad because I'm doing all this spiritual negotiating and work and really sitting there. And I realized for that moment that I had been doing my work, but from only being in it, not being able to observe it.
Oh yeah,
So even when I would get the flow or the stream of consciousness, like I did so many times,
yes,
getting a
yes,
direct download, wouldn't even be able to remember it. Now I know I wasn't digesting it. I was just puking it out with purpose, and it helped so many people, but it didn't help me.
yeah, yes,
So I was missing the message by not feeling worthy that it should sit within me first, and I was immediately gushing it out, giving it to people rather than receiving it.
And when was this? Just remind me how. When did you? When was this? Timeline wise, like seven. I forget
I
exactly.
did ayahuasca February this year.
Okay, okay. That's important. I mean, just from my own
Yeah.
understanding, but yes. So you.
And if you watch any of my videos, you'll see how that transition occurred.
Well, I didn't see exactly the whole transition, but I did see that video, and I have watched more recently, and I
Yeah.
also remember from like way before. So
Yeah.
yes, yes,
I mean,
I
just the whole way that I've set myself when it comes to sharing information has switched.
I can see, but I have not gone into the full depth of it. But I can see
Yeah.
definitely a shift. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Yes.
And it's valuable because I think sometimes because um, we're so exposed
Yeah.
to a system and a surrounding that is judgmental, even when, and this is why I said telepathy is such a simple thing, and it's because they can suppress it by giving it too much technology and making you feel inferior.
Yeah.
So even many of the people here are getting downloads, spirits talking to them all the time. But because we're engineered to only think, well, only Wayne Dyer's talking to somebody, or
Right.
only this person is doing that. Um, we'll get it, we'll share it, but we won't let it soak in us because we don't feel worthy ultimately. And that, and that's an interesting concept because it's really come to me that, you know, you can change a lot of lives, but the one life that you should be changing the most is yours.
Yes.
And I think that was the greatest gift that I walked away from with ayahuasca, was that to honor that message that I was getting from source by allowing it to take seed and root within myself first. And even when I'm getting a download or stream of conscious now, like on Instagram, you'll see I'll stop and I'll be like, wait, hold on. Let me just take this in. Let
Yes.
me sit with this.
Yes.
And because the highest level of consciousness, like Jung has said, is the state of observation,
Yes. A 100%
right?
observation of oneself. Yes.
I mean, we've had a conversation prior to like even
Yeah.
like a year ago. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just I've watched myself. I critique myself just to go back and see like, okay, can I see like a marked change or how I process stuff? And I was like, wow, that's crazy.
Yes.
And I take no credit. I take my higher self is completely full and present and negotiating this world with me, right?
Yes, and I do sense you differently at this time. I will say 100% I do. Yes. Yeah. There was part
Um,
a little bit part was you were still present, but there was
yeah,
parts that were like a little not scattered, but maybe the attention was possibly diverted elsewhere.
it
And
was insecurity.
you weren't helping yourself at that point. Like you were
It was insecurity.
go ahead, go ahead.
I just said it was insecurity.
Insecurity. We'll talk more. You, first of all, you're a very, intelligent man. You're very spiritually aware and awakened. So for those who are also who may feel, how could you possibly, not for me, but like, have insecurity? We all have insecurities, right? So I'm asking you to like, share a little bit about like how you came into, how did you overcome that? And
Well, imagine for a second, like imagine when you go to a party, right? You show up at the party and you don't know anybody.
yeah,
Well, there's a part of you that has to come out that is going to pretend a little bit because you feel you could immediately be judged. So you don't sit in the party completely as you would as if you were at home with your family, obviously.
right.
So, and the idea is to take that part of you that is familiar in with the family aspect of being yourself, and then bridge that to the part of you that is able to go sit with strangers, and then move that to how you receive information and interact with spirit or source. There's
Mhm.
a part of you that's very familiar with source. That is the child in you. But the child has not been given the permission to grow alongside of the physical body. So what happens is that we feel still and we're programmed. It's shame, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
subservience. It's the God outside. We're still programmed to not feel that connection with God in the way that it supports us to be full in ourself. That's why we're always empty and searching.
yeah. No,
And,
that's true. That's a deep
you know,
part because you're saying it so softly, but can you reemphasize that? Because I
yeah.
know what you mean, but sometimes uh, it sounds so good that people miss that. Can you repeat that a little deeper?
Yeah. Well, the thing is that um source is such a powerful force, and it is inside of you. It is your voice. And when like I would get a download, I wouldn't take it to heart because that deep-seated shame that has been programmed that God is outside of us didn't allow me to feel completely at peace with accepting information that was helping other people, because there's still that insecurity that maybe I don't deserve it, right? Where I have the compassion to share that information with other people and it is dead on and perfect for other people, but maybe it's not perfect for me because I'm not perfect. So it's the dark night of the soul, but in
Yeah,
disguise, because the duration of it is so long. It's like being on slow boil, like frog story. So the dark night of the soul sometimes is like dropping a frog into boiling water. It's going to jump out.
yeah,
But there's also an element of the dark night of the soul that is slow boil, where it's just beneath the surface so much that it makes you feel almost unworthy of your gifts, of your direct contact with the source, of the ability to receive information that it's just for you, not for everybody else.
yes.
Does that make sense?
To me, yes, it does. But go, okay, so repeat the last sentence. You said you don't feel worthy of those gifts. You feel they're for yourself and not for
Right.
the others. Yeah.
Well, it's we have a fascination with superheroes, right? And we all want to be a
Yeah.
superhero.
Oh, yeah. We
But
all,
right, we all do. We all want to.
yeah.
But the idea is that we already are.
Yes. Yeah.
So, everyone has a special superpower. Everybody has a mutant gift. Some people are innate healers and they don't know it but they'll experience it because they do feel compelled and it is within them and it has to be processed. So they'll heal other people, but then they'll get sick and have cancer.
Yes. Yes. Definitely.
Right.
Yes.
Or even like myself, like I guess you would call me a little bit of like, because I'm channeling information from a future point in the timeline that comes directly from me because I'm my own guide.
Yes.
It
Oh,
goes
yeah.
by the name Dorian. So, and that was the door to Ryan. And I, I found this, and it was kind of crazy how it happened. But so the information that comes from for me that I channel or that I bring forward in my life is actually just myself, but from a future place.
Definitely. I'm with you 100. I'm with you
Right.
100%. Yes. Oh, yes, I am. Yes.
And it took that relationship of interself to be able to feel that I deserved that information as well.
Yes. Okay. No, okay. So this is the part. Go. When you say deserve, why wouldn't you deserve it though?
It's because of you know, like you would denature something or you'd water it down. It's because the who part of us is watered down into, you know, so many different I guess I want to say it's watered down into so many different layers because we're designed. We're not allowed to grow. Jeti Krishnamurti says a quote, which is great. It's his quote. He said, "There's a son and a father, and they walk out into a field. The boy sees a bird in the tree, and he looks up, and he's like, 'Oh wow, Papa, what is that?' And the dad says, 'It's a sparrow.' And then Jeti said, 'The boy will never see the bird again.' So it's a symbol of the amount of conditioning that goes into people trying
Yeah.
to to procure a future for their children
Yeah.
based on their own perception,
Yeah.
not allowing the child to grow in the way that it would naturally because of the choices that were made. Hence,
Yeah.
even why astrology is actually effective because those choices are innate. Now,
Yeah.
granted, on a higher level of observation, everything is perfect.
Yes.
But from the perception as you're involved in it and you're having that in the world, not of the world experience, like Jesus talks about,
Yes.
when you're in the world, you have all the conditioning. And a lot of times we spend more time in the world than we do out of the world.
Yes.
And, you know, so we have to strike that balance first off. But when you're in it, you don't, it's like being engrossed in a movie. You could like hear gunfire in a movie and not realize that somebody's firing a gun behind you that's real.
Yes.
So because we're engrossed in the experience and the experience has been set up for us to not actually be exposed to truth yet,
Mhm.
there was that part of me that wasn't ready yet till I worked with Mama Aya in that plant medicine
Yeah.
and really found the conversation and the ability to communicate from an equal place where I wasn't serving her, I wasn't worshiping God, I was becoming one with God.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's what the luminous body means. That's what even like the Buddhists talk about the rainbow body.
Yeah.
And again, look how separation is set up even through spiritual context. They put and it's a little bit like going to like preschool. But like
Yeah.
even if you look at the chart on on like Kundalini awakening, or if you look at how the chakras are designed, each
Mhm.
chakra is designed at a specific point, so pretty, so compact in that place. But the rainbow luminous body has no specific point where that chakra lives.
Right.
That's why
It's
it's called
all,
a rainbow.
yeah. It's all
It's
encompassing.
because it is
All in.
merging, it's all one. Like your heart chakra could be your whole body. That's
Yes.
why when you look at the photography where they take a picture of your aura, it's
Yeah.
like there's no one color like seated at one space. It's all over the place,
Right. Yes.
you know? And that's the energy working with you, not in parallel based on some kind of subservient structured self.
Yeah.
And that's the other point that Aya showed me is that the knowledge of the ancients, the rituals of the old, they're still being told to us. So, like for instance, if Phil or myself or you or somebody here gets a download, it's as detrimental to the evolvement of mankind as, say, Siddhartha. But because these people have been idolized as ascended masters, which when
Right.
I talked to Jesus and walked with him on the other side, the one thing he said is the Jesus that you see in your time isn't me.
Yeah.
I'm still here in this parallel life serving my people. So who you've created and manifested there is perfect for you, but
Yeah.
it's not me.
Right. I agree with that. Yeah. I'm
And
with
I
you there.
and I like to think of that, in the fact of that from, you know, most of us, Jesus is it comes in a white package.
Right.
I'm
Well,
not,
yeah.
like, making a race thing, but I'm just saying
No,
and
no,
Jesus
no.
will even show up to people when
Yeah.
they have afterlife experiences as that white package.
Yeah.
But we know Jesus wasn't white.
No, he was not.
But the image we've manifested is serving that instruction manual that we've been given. So
Yeah.
even when you go to death, even when you cross that doorway, the
Okay.
first moments of that are designed not to shock you.
Right.
They're designed to serve you and
Comfort
to
you. Yeah.
supply
That is
you
comfort
the
you, right?
ability to make a choice.
Yes. I'm with you. Yes.
So even death, right? Like death, we think, oh, go to the light, go to the light. But
Oh,
that's still
yeah.
fear.
Yes. It is. Oh, yes, it
We're
is.
identifying this light and these people that are familiar with that's the right path.
Right.
But it's because we're afraid of the transition because we haven't trained for death.
Yes.
And a shaman's whole life, even a Buddhist monk, you're training for death.
And
And it's not that you're focused on dying, but you
yeah.
understand that death is part of life.
And also, I will say, as a stellium in Scorpio, I have 5 placements in Scorpio. I would say I'm very familiar with the continuity of continuous, like, death, rebirth, death in a
Yeah.
physical life without physically dying completely, right? But I
Yep.
will say, even though it's an analogy, but when you have a person who's familiar, because it's just how I was set to be. I never asked for that. Well, maybe I did my, I maybe when I came in, I said, okay, I want to go do this, right? But it's uncomfortable, but becomes familiar, and the more that you learn to train, like I don't have a choice. It is what it is. It just
Yeah.
continues to play itself out. But what you were saying, no, on the higher level, that's more important to me. So go ahead. What you were saying on the higher level.
Well, I was just saying on a higher level, even like I don't know if anybody's ever done like some of those float tanks where you're separate and all the senses are kind of
Those floating things like this, like where you like those water tanks, or which ones?
yeah, it's a float tank. It's like
Yeah.
it's in the dark and you're floating and sailing and you're weightless.
Yes.
There's no sound, there's no
Yeah.
light.
Yeah.
There's just you. That is a great practice for death. And they used to do it in ancient Greece. That's what the pools were underneath Delphi. They used to do it in ancient Egypt. And the reason why they would do this is because
Yeah.
going to the light, we're so associated even with that light is the Lord, that light is good. But that's one perspective. That's the perspective that we've been conditioned to think.
Yeah.
When I died the first time, I sat and had a conversation with who I now know as Jedi Krishnamurti. We were sitting on a beach, and he was looking out at the sun setting, and I said, "Am I dead?" He goes, "I don't know. Are you?" I said, "Well, it looks like I might be because I don't know where I'm at, and I don't know you, and I know that I got in an accident." And he goes, "Well, maybe you are." And I said, "So what are we doing?" He goes, "We're watching the sunset." He goes, "Wait, you mean like that means I'm dying?" And he goes, "I don't know. Does it?" And because I now know he's all about asking questions because he wants you to find your own answer.
Yes. Yes.
And so I looked out and I said, "So if the sun sets, does that mean that I'm dead?" And he goes, "From here, it does." And I said, "Oh, so what else is there?" And he goes, "Well, when you're sitting from this place, when the sun sets, it's darkness. It's over. Another day will rise. But if you were to take this seat on the sun, it never sat."
Yes. Yes.
So he was basically saying to change my perspective from the idea that death is final, or
Final.
that death
Final.
is,
Right.
it's death is not just like I'm going to go sit, because energy is never stagnant.
No.
So
No.
the idea that I'm going to go to heaven and sit there is actually that's against the principle of energy.
Yes.
Energy is going to change form. It's going to go through their different door, even if it defines me and I become two people when I come back.
That's okay.
Or like what my future self has said, when you practice the art of that transition and you're comfortable with transcendental meditation, even like the Wim Hof breathing, when you
Yeah.
get to a place where darkness doesn't scare you, now
Yeah.
you've mastered life.
Yes.
So if you know that evil, like when people are saying, "Oh, I'm being attacked by this energy vampire," I have to kind of laugh in some ways. And then I'm very sensitive to it. And I'm like, okay, let's talk about it.
I know. I hear
I'm
you.
like, there's no such thing as an energy vampire that can attack you. You're allowing this energy to come in because you're inviting it.
Yes. Or
And this is about those simple places, right?
you're too open without like the awareness of that you have control over not allowing.
You're actually, so even like in the story of the vampire, everything has a little Easter egg. It says the vampire, you have to invite into your house for the vampire to come in,
No one comes to my fucking house. But yes.
right? So, and it's the same thing, like on my YouTube, like somebody was like, "You don't have any negative comments." I was like, "No, because this is where I live and I don't let people poop on my floor."
Yeah.
So I'm going to delete it because this is a place that is fair and unbiased. I don't have room for trolls.
Exactly.
So it's the same thing. If the way we would manage our house or manage a channel or manage your job is the same way we're managing our life.
Yeah.
So when energy comes in, I'm allowing it. I just did a coaching session with this one girl that was she felt that her ex was coming in and having relations with her against her will on a higher level, and that he was taking energy from her chakras. And I said, "I understand. You're inviting him in. You're allowing that presence. And I said, and actually his presence isn't even there. You've created, because you're so powerful, a visage, an image of him, and given it your energy of this part of you that is in shame, empowered it to attack the part of you that's not.
Yes.
And she was like, but how is that possible? I said, well, call him and ask. She's like, what? I was like, call him and ask. So she did. And he's like, no, hell no. Why would I do that? So, and she's like, yeah, I guess you're right. So we found out that, that when I'm being attacked,
Yeah.
and I'm not talking about physically if somebody mugs you, I'm talking about when I'm being attacked on a spiritual level,
No.
we've been conditioned to think that it's something outside. We've been
Yes.
conditioned to think, oh, wait, this is some kind of demonic presence coming in. And it is. But the idea is that you've given it energy to engage. You've fed it energy. It's an idea that becomes an entity because you're the power of what you are connected to has to go somewhere. And if you're not sending it in the proper direction, it's like eating. If I'm not eating healthy food and I'm eating bad food, it's going to affect me. So if I'm pulling in this information because I'm not feeling worthy, it's going to attack me in a way that's apparent. But because the psyche of me doesn't want to say that it's a self attack, I have to label it on somebody else.
Yes. I hear you. Yes, I do. That's
And it's
important.
controversial. I mean, a lot of people they're not really wanting to process that because again, we're going to go back to self accountability. We're going to
Yeah.
go back to awareness.
Oh, yes.
And these are basic staples of consciousness.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. That's critical. That's actually what I call like the principalities of like how you operate life, right? You gotta have
Yeah.
those principles of like the principalities. So when in doubt, when in fear, not fear, but like when things are up in the air, you have to have like these pillars of like truths that are your internal truths, your knowings, right? And those are what keep you on the right path. They remind you when you fall short, right?
And I think that and if you think about it, the mind doesn't really move in truth, right?
No?
The mind moves in information, and information isn't true.
Correct.
Information supports different perspectives, but
Whatever it's
the
supposed to be.
idea that information is true is still, I mean, truth comes from how you feel,
Your
right?
inner
That's why people protest things and they're impassioned. And we could sit there and say, well, you're not right. That's wrong. But they have no context of that, right?
yeah,
So even if you presented somebody with information to the contrary, it doesn't change their truth. Some people would die for that truth,
they will.
even if you could prove it 1,000 times in
They
different
will.
ways that it
Yep,
was not true.
they will. Yes. They
So
will.
truth isn't housed in information; it's housed in the heart.
Yes. In the inner self,
And
the inner
it's
soul.
like the nucleus of an atom. Your heart is the energy that engages the polarities of the proton and the electron and the neutron. And when we start looking at these things from a molecular standpoint, and then we even understand, I just talked about that on Instagram, go back to the double blind study where the electron moved in accordance to the observer.
Yes,
It
I
doesn't
heard.
mean that, and it's funny, it's like the electron doesn't mean, and we're immediately thinking, oh, well, the energy obeyed me.
No, no,
No, it
no.
observed you, observing it.
Yes,
And
it did.
then you're at a conundrum. So then one has to mirror the other. So it's mirroring you. It's actually not, it's not obeying you. And this is the principle of law of attraction. That's how you get law of attraction to work, is it mirrors you.
Yeah.
You want love, be love.
Yes.
You
And
want
you
happiness,
you
be
talk
happiness.
about mirror work a lot on your channel. I mean, you used to. I'm not sure if you still do today,
Do
but do
what?
you but yeah, mirror work. You did a lot of
I do,
work.
yeah. That's one of the things that I've kind of kept.
Still okay.
Yeah, I still do it, but I do it now. I do it more on a one-on-one basis, and
Yeah.
people
It's
kind of we go
personal.
along through WhatsApp, and I monitor their each day progression and give them feedback.
Okay. Yeah.
I think I've had 10,000 people do it.
It's a lot of people, and you're really good at that. You explain it very well
I
because
I did a tally of how many people I've coached over the past 3 years. I've coached over 3,800 people.
yes, that's a lot, and you should
That's a
be
lot of people.
proud of yourself because that's a lot. And
And of
from
course, I'm counting some groups too. I'm not like that. I'm not doing like 5 people a day, but so I've done groups of like 100 people at a time and stuff too. So
yes. No, that's impressive, and that's still you placing your energy out in the field. in that, whether it's a group or individual one-on-one, you're still putting yourself in that process, and that still harnesses your own energetics, right?
Well, and the funny thing is that
The process. I'm not
and
saying
here's
you're
what I was talking about with pre let's say pre ayahuasca and post ayahuasca. So
okay.
pre ayahuasca, I was still doing all that great work, doing all that stuff, but I was it helped everybody else, but because I was not feeling secure in that position to
Yeah,
provide it,
yeah,
because I still had this feeling of inferiority, or like, maybe I don't deserve it. I believe that they got the information and did great, but the part of it is that, yeah, I did this, but I didn't experience it.
okay.
So it's almost kind of like being in, it's like, have you ever heard someone say, like, I feel like I'm in my body and I'm looking out of two windows and it's like everything is surreal. So it was kind of like that, right?
Okay.
It's like, it was like I would get information, or I would be in contact. I would feel it, hear it, and I would process it. But there's still that child inside that wasn't feeling worthy
Okay.
to be where I was.
Yeah.
So at times I would appear maybe a little too cocky, or maybe I would appear a little bit insincere. And I think that um, it ultimately suppressed probably the message that was supposed to come through. I think it was probably could have, and again, everything is perfect in hindsight, right? Like
Oh, of
2020.
course. Yes, I'm with
So,
you. I got you. I'm there with
but
you. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's like I wasn't ready for that message to be heard.
At that moment in time.
Right.
At that,
So, even though the people that were part of it really benefited a lot,
yeah, they probably
it
got.
wasn't embodied. Yeah.
Well, they did. They absolutely did. Yes.
And that's the beauty of ayahuasca, and how it's removes a lot of the illusions that trap us, because even to go back and to sit here and to see it and to speak it, it's like, wow, that's crazy. Sometimes I'm like, I'm like, I'm amazed. I'm like, wait, okay, so I just really narked on myself.
Well, it wasn't. I wouldn't call it like that. I would, I had different way. No, I would say it differently. I would not say it like that. You're being too harsh on yourself, because you were still you were still getting something, whether you're consciously were receiving it, but your subconscious was still absorbing it. But
Yeah.
the observation of you in real time at that moment in real time was
Yeah.
not fully grasping it, but you still were in the benefit, in the pursuit of it. So you still did
Yeah.
something, but maybe not
And
the
I
same.
was still doing here's the plus for, I think, all of us, is that I was still doing the work. I
Yes.
just didn't really necessarily get the full volume of it. So, and that goes to show anybody even watching this, that even if you're doing the work and you're like, wait, I just don't feel like this is really, really helping me. Or if I'm trying to be conscious, or I'm trying to like do something and it hasn't really taken root yet, but you're seeing benefits of it. Maybe you're like working harder, people are more receptive. Um, it's just, maybe there's that piece of you still that doesn't feel that you deserve that success. And then I even did a live yesterday. I was talking about the fear, and how we have a fear, and we tend to, facing fear is like relatively easy in some ways, but
No.
we suppress ourselves being scared, but we also suppress ourselves by pacing ourselves, and like, how like we'll say, like we'll judge ourselves by our failures,
Yeah.
but we also judge ourselves by our successes. So like if you're like, have you ever heard that guy, like it's like the prom king or queen or the football star in high school, they never left that moment
Yes.
and they relive it over and over,
Yes.
but that's limiting belief.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Because what you're saying is that I don't believe source. I don't believe that there's unlimited potential. I'm going to install this glass ceiling over my head, and that's as high as I can go.
Right.
And they never expand into the space they were designed to do.
Yes. Yes. I'm with you there 100%. I'm with you there because I do talk about that a lot, because we put these ceilings on our like a cap on our life, and then we also begin to aim lower and lower, right? Would you agree
Yeah.
with me, Brian? We aim so low because we don't want to fail ourselves, because we don't want to, who would want to fail yourself? Nobody wants to, but we only grow when we're at the edges of the fringes, the uncomfort, the unknown. That is when shit hits the fan and we're put to the test. What
Well, think of it like this, like, there's energy is always moving. And so even like that's why an atom has all these things spinning around it and there's space in between it. So you're always moving ahead of yourself and you're always having to continue that growth. You're always growing towards something.
yeah,
And if you can't um, let go of the past, even if it's successful, even like a relationship, right? Like it's like even age. I mean, like people will fight to hang on to certain spots or certain ideas of, wait, this is what I look like. I'm going to fight to hold that. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to get a facelift, everything else. I'm not bashing on people that have, but I'm just saying there's that fear that I need to hold on to who I was
yeah.
because maybe that's as good as it gets.
Yes, I hear what you're saying, but
And it always gets better when you let go of what has been and you continue to become more.
I love that. That is beautiful. I love that. Can you go more on that? Because people don't realize that, people don't. They hear you. I'm hearing you, but I
Right.
grasp it. But restate that again a little bit more. That's important. That's a very powerful message. Very
Well,
powerful message.
I'm just, even like and I think this is why people get burned out. Like I actually really got burned out prior to ayahuasca and I felt like, well, I've reached my max, I'm like I'm not growing on anything, I'm not gaining anything. Um but what it was is that I kept comparing myself to, oh wow, that video was watched over 500,000 times rather than seeing like, well, I don't have, and this is why it was funny because Yeshua said, well, I changed the world with 12 people. And so it's like, when you're sitting there, like we've got 10 people in here now, two more, and we could change the whole world. It's kind of funny. So,
Yes, that's
you
important.
know,
Repeat
right.
that. Repeat
And
it.
it's funny because as we're going forward, like if I felt like I wasn't making that growth happen, so I was stuck and stagnant, punishing myself for actual accomplishments that were great, but I didn't allow them to stand. I wanted them to like it's like I would say, okay, so well, I had a video watched almost 500,000 times. Why haven't I had another one? And then I would compete against myself. And
Mhm.
that's basically termed as a higher level of self sabotage.
Yes.
So, and we're trained to do it, right? Like we even in track, like you're competing against your own time. And eventually competing against yourself like that burns out. And that's
Yeah.
why people feel empty and that's why they have these breaks. So the idea isn't that you're competing against yourself. You're just always doing your best.
Yes.
And when you access your best over and over, understanding that as you go through life, your best is always going to be different,
Different.
right?
Different. The key.
Like a 60-year-old bodybuilder versus a 20-year-old bodybuilder is no less,
It's
right?
different. It's
But the
different.
60-year-old bodybuilder is actually just as good or even better because they're doing their self. Like it's equal. And that's where equality has such a hard time too. We're so equal. When we say equality, we immediately think woman or color, but it's actually even within ourself equality because we're not allowing ourselves to equalize like the neutron would balance out the molecule. We're sitting there and we're like a 60-year-old bodybuilder is equal to a 20-year-old bodybuilder because you go point for point in the state that they're in. Like if somebody like if you do something at, say, like when a 12-year-old gets a degree at like, you know, uh, Harvard or something because they're super accelerated, we look at that and be like, oh, wow, man, that's crazy. How much smarter are they than me? You could be 50 and go get a degree at Harvard and it's still the same accomplishment, but we
Mhm.
sell ourselves short because we're monitoring ourselves on a timeline rather than a lifeline.
Yes. And that's critical because that's where people get lost in translation, right?
Um, it is, and it kind of like the dog chasing its tail,
Yes.
right? So you're chasing yourself rather than seeing yourself. So the dog chasing its tail is never actually really seeing itself. It's only seeing the back end of itself, so it's always behind it. So many times we're chasing our own tail. We're always behind who we actually are.
When the real self is right in front of us, waiting for us to observe our own self in real time.
And
correct?
moving forward, actually, rapidly. That's why the inner child never gets to really match the adult in its transition. That's why technology on the physical space right now is so out of context, because the spiritual context of it isn't being allowed, because the inner child never caught up to be at the same level as the mental intelligence.
Yes.
There was
Yes.
disparagement right there. So, wait, what is? I was looking at what somebody said.
They were happy. They want you to keep coming
Oh,
back. Hopefully you keep doing
okay.
it. Oh, they're loving it. So hopefully you're not done talking because they're so happy. So
Is Mad Max talking in another language, or is that code?
no, I'm not sure who Mad Max is. That's a new person, I guess. I'm not sure who that one is, but
Yeah.
everyone else has been in just English,
Are they talking in Turkish or what?
I'm not sure who Mad Max. I've never seen this name, so it's the first time. On live streams, you don't know who comes in, so
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I've
familiar with
gotten a couple of things that
everyone else.
came in and were like, so I had a couple Mad Maxes come into my live
Oh,
stream. I was like, what?
what? No, I
I
don't
was
know
like,
who that is. Nope,
I
we
was
just
like,
yeah, no, we don't know that. We don't know Mad Max. If they're nice, they can stay. If not, my team, the Blue Wrenches, they know what to do. We don't have to discuss that. So as long as they're polite, they can stay. If they're not, they will be taken care
well,
of. So.
that wasn't even impolite. I think that was Turkish.
Oh, well, I'm not sure what they were doing.
Rudy, Woody, bye, bye, bye.
Yes, yeah, we have like play. Okay, so we say play nicey nicey, or you
Oh
the
yeah,
booty.
nice, nice.
Yeah,
So, and I think that, and like, again, like, even like, just to like explain with telepathy, just
yeah,
in the context of like how we're talking about enhancing our best self.
yeah,
So think of the idea of being telepathic. When you think of that idea, you immediately think of criticism, and you think of like people trying to disprove it. We think about like the guy that would bend spoons with his mind, and then he got like totally like was a fraud.
yeah,
So that's designed, just like most media, to side rail things and to make you not access the truth.
yes,
Because why would it's like being a witch in Salem? Oh, you mean you weren't a witch? You were just a plant medicine person, or you were doing herbs to heal people? Wow. Okay. So, but suddenly you're a witch, and you burn when when you burn. If you don't burn, you're not a witch. It's
right,
like, okay, well, who doesn't burn? If you don't drown, it's like you're not you. If you drowned, you weren't a witch.
right.
Okay,
I'm with you there. No,
thanks.
I hear you. I hear your message though for sure with that. Yes,
Right.
it's
So when you look at something like in the same context of like telepathy as looking at your best self and not always judging yourself by your previous accomplishments or failures, telepathy is the same thing. You are telepathic, but telepathy it's not a skill of the mind. The mind is trying to convince you that it owns it, because the mind doesn't own anything. All the mind does is process information. It's a
mhm,
filter, it's a moderator, it's a mediator between the Akasha, or the above consciousness, and your physical heart that holds your soul.
yes, yes,
So telepathy is actually the conduit from source to the heart. So the
yeah,
mind is pissed off because it can't maneuver it. It can't utilize it. It can't say, the mind's like, well, what do you mean I can't use this connection so that I can pick those winning lottery numbers and have an easy life?
I know.
And
Yeah,
the soul's like, well, no,
as
but I can tell you, I can give you the strength to pick up that car when it's on top of your kid, or I can give you the insight to know, hey, don't turn left now,
right,
broadsided by a car.
right,
But
yeah,
because the mind is so irreverent, and so it has such an insatiable design on information and owning it, it won't allow that intuition to take its proper space, which is telepathy, which is animals are even engaged in it. That's why a dog knows immediately. You can People are like, I'm talking to my dog. No, you are, but not with your mouth. It's your inflection. Your voice is carrying the telepathic signal of vibration.
yes. Oh,
And your
definitely.
dog's like, oh shit. Like my dog before Cairo died, I didn't, I haven't lost Cairo this year. But so I would tell him, like, I would count to three, never spanked him or anything. But by the time I got to three, because I could do a telepathic kind of like
You're like, yeah, you're
push,
yes,
he
I know.
would go lay down. Yeah.
No, I'm with you though.
2020. Yeah. It's been a year of transition fully.
No, but it's a very impressive year. I can already feel. through the heart chakra, a different person. I am talking to a different Ryan. Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yes, I am. Oh, yes, I am.
Yeah.
But this is a more purified Ryan. And now, even without the ayahuasca, I mean, yes, I know you said that to me, but like I can feel through this conversation, you have transgressed a lot,
Yeah.
big internally, and it's outwardly being expressed. But this is in the core element, 100.
Core shift. Yeah.
Definitely. I could feel it and I know it. So yes, this
And
is
I've learned also in this shift that like, okay, so I was like updating my computer so it moves faster and it's quieter when I'm recording. And I changed my hard drive and I lost 3 years of work. Like my next book I was working on, I was 3 chapters deep and I deleted. And I tried to recover it and it was gone. But then I just like laughed and I just like I thought, oh my God, I just got saved from a huge error. So,
and
you
yep.
know, it's so funny.
No, that's no, go ahead. I want to hear it. Go ahead, tell me it.
Oh no, I was just saying that, you know, it was so funny because I felt like because now I've learned to when I'm moving on that much more simple pattern and I'm involving source and the simplicity of it, I see as the observer, well, that actually had to happen because I don't want that book to come out because it wasn't even me. I started working on it before I even, you know, shifted into a different space.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm just like, wow, you know. And then even like I took 2 weeks off from social media, like a few, like about this past month. And normally I would be fiending and I would be like, oh my God, I gotta log in. I was just like, I'd get a download, I'd write it on a post-it, and I would just sit with it and I would like just enjoy it.
This is fucking beautiful. This is the Ryan that I knew you at the core. Yes. Yes. Oh my God. Like I got goosebumps because
Yeah.
it's hard to explain quickly, but
Yeah. And thanks, Scott, for the love for my dog. Yeah, he was awesome. 12 years, best friend.
no, this is the Ryan that I always knew was there. But there was some blockage or some layers
Yeah.
over. I still knew that this was inside you, but I did see and feel there were layers of around you. Not you know how we all have layers anyways, but like
It was
they
self-protection.
I don't, what? How would you
It
call
was
it?
self-protection.
Hmm?
It was
So,
self-protection.
okay, and that's okay because we do that as a mechanism, right, to keep
It
safe.
was, yeah. It was the child protecting itself.
You are liberated. I can feel you from the full heart chakra. Yes, I can, and I know it. I feel it. I know it. Yes, I
That
do.
was like, did you see the post that I put on Instagram? It was like so cute. It said, showing up is a huge part of the shine.
You're showing up.
And that's like not showing up to the world, that's showing up to yourself because
Yeah,
you are the world. And
yeah.
and it's interesting when you do plant medicine, you get to see the micro and the macro. You get to see like yourself as the world, and wow, that's an amazing thing. Like
Yes.
to see yourself as a tree, as the I mean, I was like literally like a big huge redwood. I was like, what the heck? So
Yeah.
you're like, you know, and then and even when I was in the Atlantean stage of that experience, the one thing when I was coming back out, ayahuasca, I call her Mama Aya, she said, even with all of that technology, they still fell.
It's yes, yes,
So
yes,
she basically taught me not to idolize
yes.
the past. And that's what we're talking about. Don't idolize past successes. Don't idolize past failure. Keep pushing forward. And forward doesn't mean that you're and like, you know, we have a thing like forward is about how much progress we're making, but actually it's how much presence you're bringing.
It's the journey of self-acceptance and being present in how you're showing up to every part of the stage in real time, right?
Yeah. Well, even presence, think of presence for a second. Presence and like, um, presence isn't about profit. It's not about how much you own. It's not about where you live.
Yeah.
Presence is about the person. And, you know, and we get so acclimated because, you know, I've actually seen as well. And it was funny because I know some people in China that were like trying to get me to come over and help them train actors because I acted for a while. But
You did,
even
yes.
Hollywood is the strong arm of suppression because
Yes, it
it's
is.
trying to create an elite concept that you can't obtain. And it's designed to suppress
It's a false
source,
illusion. You're
right?
striving for an objective that's never attainable, at least at the real fullness,
And
right?
they're not even obtaining it. It was handed to them so that they could take it from us.
Yes, I'm with you.
And the interesting thing is that on that higher level, when you step out as the observer, it was done perfectly because it's put us here. And
Yeah,
what we're experiencing with the age of Aquarius is
yes,
like it's going to tip into technology the first part, and then we're going to realize that no, I don't want to be a gray alien, and we're going to tip it back. And thanks to our future selves, these gray aliens that show up and pop up occasionally and let us know that they're there, they are saying, don't, please, just be human, right? Um, so then where we're headed in that age of Aquarius is we're going to come back to that spiritual knowledge, to that path of the planet.
and
And that's what the sacred technology is.
we need that, right? We have
Yeah.
already come to like such like a pivot points, peak states, plateaus and peaks, and we no longer are conducive over like this. What we see right now is just it's overstated its position. Would you agree with that, Ryan?
Well, I like to think of things in kind of like, in a little bit like in metaphors in some way. So think about like anything that you're approaching in life that's a problem, or anything that you're trying to accomplish. Think of it as a mountain, right? Now you look at the mountain like Mount Everest,
Yes.
and you're like, okay, so I got to climb that. But
Yes.
when you take a different perspective on the mountain, and you realize that the mountain is it's not a mountain, it's just the earth, right? And the earth is actually has multiple dimensions. That's what the depth and the height are expressing, is the interdimensional relationship with earth.
Yeah.
So earth itself represents us. The mountain represents a piece of us. So it's all together. The mountain actually isn't a mountain at all. It's just an extension of the earth. So when we start looking at things from that perspective, we're going to start changing how we perceive technology.
Yeah.
And imagine for a second that if like it's just as powerful, like if you have something come across, I like to say your screen, your soul screen, and you feel, hey, man, I have this thought, like somebody has a dream about their ex-boyfriend or girlfriend. And then you're
Okay.
like, what the heck was that? And you're like, okay, so let me send them some love and some energy.
Okay.
And then I'm going to be thankful for that. It's just as powerful what you've done as if you had called them. But because we don't relate that, the call, we think it has to be physicalized because
Right.
we've dialed energy down so much, but energy's everything.
Yes.
So even when you're climbing a mountain like Mount Everest, it's energy, and you're climbing energetically energy. So if you're in alignment and your vibration is with the mountain, climbing the mountain will make itself happen.
Yes.
So it's not that you're saying to the mountain, move. You're actually becoming the energetic state that's vibrationally in balance with the mountain. So you won't even fall from the mountain because you're one with it as you walk up it. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but hopefully.
Makes sense to me, and we all like metaphors. I always give a lot of metaphors, so we are the same vibrational alignment there. Definitely, I always give metaphors, so that's on point. No, it really is. That's on point for so many. It's on point. That's why I said, hey, Ryan's amazing, guys. Right? They're so happy. They love you. They want you to keep coming back. They love this. So hopefully you're not done yet, are you? We want to hear
You know
more.
what?
They're not ready to let you go. You can't let us
Oh,
go. You're still here.
I'm
Your
yeah, I'm
vibration
still
is
here.
here, your energy is here, and you're awake and you're here. This is the moment, right? It's what I call it divine timing. It wasn't
Well,
planned. It comes in,
and
right?
you know what's funny is like when you go, so if you scroll down, there's that divine new moon in Scorpio underneath, and it has she chose the serpent, but I understand like why she did it. But then I just was like, okay, so, but ayahuasca knows we're talking about her,
Yes.
and at least it's on mine. I don't know if it's on yours, but and anybody that wants to really expand their space, listen to Alan Watts.
Yes. No, I
I
like.
mean,
I love Ellen. Terrence McKenna, Alan Watts. Yes, 100%. I probably listened and years ago, and I still do. Like they have so many. They have a library of collection, right? It's a
yeah.
lot, definitely.
The funny thing is, that even when I came out of ayahuasca and I merged that with my experiences from before, then I learned that, wow, I'm really not alone, because what are the chances that a plant can stimulate the same chemical in my brain that activates when I'm dying?
Okay. Yes. Oh yeah.
So, I mean, just the idea that that a plant is in alignment with that same molecule, that same, DMT, it makes one think, wow, we're really not separate. So once that happens, then you understand that, okay, so why would the story of the garden been the way that they told it? And it's because they don't want you to know that
Yes.
the earth is talking to you so
Right.
much in so many ways.
Yeah.
Because then you understand that everything is all right. And then if there's no fear, there, you know, if there's no fear, I mean, imagine that the highest part of someone's day or life that is the obstacle is fear.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, and healthy fear is fine, like
Sometimes healthy,
running from a tiger,
healthy
that's
is
fine.
okay, right, but not
But
living here, right?
right, fear that's designed and engineered in order to make you consistently stressed, it keeps and suppresses your spiritual gifts.
Yes. And we're in fight or flight. Like we're like anxiety, depression, or like worry, and we're never in like the natural bliss state of like, okay, harmonious alignment. We're missing that part
Well,
of it, right?
and also too, even like I was learning when I came back even from ayahuasca, a lot of the illusions that we participate in or we create were designed from fear.
Yes.
Like even like there's relationships that we're in that are designed from fear.
Yes, out of scarcity or out of lack or out of like, or old conditioning, old patterns, right? They're like holding us back, and it's actually stunting our growth. It's stunting our growth, right? And their blockages. Can you talk more? That's a very key part that
I
many
was
people
going to read I want to read this post that's I thought was really cool.
can't do it.
Um where is it? Let me find it. Um let's see. And this is kind of like it was posted. It said a disagreement with a toxic partner will turn into an argument that turns into a bigger problem. A disagreement with a divine partner will turn into a conversation that will lead to changed behavior or a solution. It's important to know the difference. Now, the interesting thing about that is, yeah, that could be related to a partner. But then when you take that and you put it in context of self,
Yes.
so how many times are we arguing with who we are, and we do it in such a way where we harm ourselves, right? Where we will binge, or where we will hurt ourselves by going out and drinking, trying to drink our troubles away. Or so really the idea is that um, we are indoctrinated into a toxic understanding um, of what we perceive ourselves to be. And that is an illusion, right?
Yeah.
It's an illusion. It's like it's the same thing that the illusion of the earth being in such a tragic space was dispelled by only, what was it, 2 months of no activity for mankind, and the earth was already almost back to normal, despite the trash islands, but everything else was pretty much on point, headed for healing rapidly.
Yes. Yeah.
So when you remove the toxins from your life, and most of those are what are being told to you or what you tell yourself, because we have not yet understood that the Gnostics made such a huge point of God said in the Old Testament, because they want you to know the power of vocalization and intention.
Yeah.
So we have to change. We have to effectively dial down those toxins and replace them, like I was talking about with the loneliness thing that I wrote and replied to that guy with. And that is, and the problem is that a lot of the spaces we've created in our life currently, whether it's job, relationship, or whatever it might be, is to support a toxic truth. And the toxic truth was told to us and sold to us, and we've incorporated it as part of who we are. And that toxicity became our truth, and anything outside of that is fearful. So it became an illusion that is truth. And then when we look at that and we start to change it, things change, right? So you're there's a learning curve on trying to come back from the illusion, because you're going to find a lot of pushback. For instance, if you go and tell your wife, hey, we created this relationship, I really understand it, but it
It's not,
is not my truth whatsoever, nor is it yours, and it's
it wasn't
toxic.
built on the right foundation. The
It,
foundation was not correct.
right. So it was based and started from a place that was toxicity.
Yeah.
And the truth of that actually could save the marriage indirectly, or it will provide the path where you can separate and find that purity and go back to that state of bliss.
Yes. Yes.
But that's a transition that has to be supported through the support of even like the spiritual community, which it hasn't yet done, because there's not many people out there that do tell the truth.
Well,
It's not because they're trying to tell a lie. It's because like what I'm saying was going on with me.
well,
I was speaking truth, but I wasn't feeling truth.
okay.
So it was not, the volume of the message wasn't rising to what it could have been, because where I was at, I wasn't actually being able to feel it deeply within myself.
But okay, but Ryan, okay, so
Yeah.
you're a very powerful person internally
Mhm.
and externally,
Right.
and I
Filters, right?
yeah,
A
but
filter.
yeah,
Think
but
of a filter on
no,
Instagram.
no, but
Even a black and white filter, it looks great, but the perception is it's
no
still
filters.
changing you.
No filters. I think you press forward, no filters.
Right. No
No filters.
filter. But what I'm saying is that I had a filter. The filter wasn't, it was formed not because of lack of understanding or lack of presentation with knowledge. Like even if you're in a marriage that's wrong, you're
Right.
not presenting yourself in a way that is wrong. You're presenting yourself in a way that's filtered.
Okay.
So you still are showing up, you're still experiencing it, but there's a part that's filtered. So that part of you that's filtered isn't true. It's not experiencing truth in its most vital form, which is heart.
Yes. The heart. Yeah.
That's why people feel empty and they're striving and starving and they're moving from thing to thing. That's why we're consumers,
Yeah.
because we don't have that heart truth.
Yes.
We're
Like,
we're hungry, and our heart is where we're going to get fed. But because we haven't related it back to that, we're going to continually search for that next hit.
yes. Okay, so also I don't want to go sexually here, but just for a minute,
Yep.
because a lot of
Same thing.
people right,
Yep.
I mean, just be honest about it. People seek these like these these I don't know sexual highs, or like
Yep.
these
Same thing.
highs, but they're very empty and unfulfilled, and they're never going to fulfill you. You can put 100 of them in, right, but you'll
Yep.
always be left when it's over high and dry. There's nothing in it.
There's nothing. There's nothing.
No, it's
But
not.
that's why even like when you think of that, the sexual self is not, it's not outside either, right? That's why, and I always like laugh, and I even talk about it in my book. I'm like,
Right.
why do you think men are hungry after sex?
Yeah, they're not, they
It's
didn't.
because it wasn't fulfilling in the most deepest level of heart, and they don't know why. So they're immediately hungry for something to feed.
Yeah.
It's not about burning calories, because nobody's burning that many calories.
No.
You're not burning a Big Mac while you're doing it. If you are, you're on a movie set, and that's something different. That's not sex. That's a job. So,
No,
um,
that's
and, and and it's interesting. It's the same way. I mean, I like to think of, you know, there even an adrenaline junkie, because I was a stuntman for a while, and I kind of got into that adrenaline junkie stage, and all it did was injure me over and over, because it wasn't. I was looking for the next high, looking for the next crazy thing to do,
right.
and always getting injured, because it's like
Um,
you're not present, because you can't be present, because you're the contentment that you have with what you see in yourself is always two steps in front of you.
and also, what you're saying there, like, so stuntman or sex, like, you're seeking the present mind is seeking the truth ahead that you can't even possibly see or experience or feel in its fullest. Was right in what either in front of your face or like experientially the act itself, right?
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
And I talk about that. I think I have a whole chapter dedicated to that in my book, which is kind of funny.
Which fucking chapter is this one?
It's the one about orgasms.
Oh, yeah. I did.
Yeah.
I read the whole book. I have my notes. So yes,
Yeah. The audible one is the best, I think.
Well, you do have a very sexy voice, so.
You know that and it's just, and the good thing is that all this is just information.
Yes,
And then but the interesting thing is that we should encourage people to not get indoctrinated, but to observe it and to ask questions and to present ourselves with, this is my opinion, right? I want you to have your own opinion, but come from a place that's unbiased. Make that decision for yourself, but understand that when you do make that decision, make sure that it's coming from the divine space within you. And the only place where there's divinity is in your heart.
yes,
Divinity doesn't live in your head or your ego.
no,
I'm not saying your ego is necessary for life, but divinity doesn't live there. The seat of the soul is completely in the heart space. And, and the funny thing is that I often think of, like, I always try to go first whenever I'm in a state of meditation. I go green first. I expand my heart chakra in every space, even before I go into the rooting into the earth.
yeah,
I mean, technically, my space, my shrine, my space I set up is already root chakra,
I
so
know
it's
it.
already red and ready, right?
I know
So I
it.
sit down in it, and it's already got that vibe. But then what I immediately have to do is fill that space with heart.
Yes, 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 and that's very important, though. But yes, I'm taking it all in from you, for
Yeah.
you, yeah. But yes, to everyone else as well. Yes,
And even when you speak to yourself, if you speak to yourself in the voice of ego only, you're going to de-evolve yourself. Because the ego is only quantitative. It only pulls information from the past to forecast the future.
yeah,
The mind is only able to interpret streams of information. And if you're not providing the mind with a stream that's connected to an eternal source of heart, like source, like life, that life force, then the mind is only regulating through the ego's voice. And then you've got the inner child that
yeah,
really hasn't gotten to rise and shine because we don't support inner child work. Bryn Brown, I love what she does with it, but it's like it's not in our curriculum
it's
supporting the inner child,
not.
supporting the creative, supporting the explorer, supporting that child that's going to that like I arranged a space. Like I had an example where when a child looks up to the dad and the child's like, I was imagining it was my child and saying, hey Papa, why is the sky blue? And I'm like, I look at them and immediately ask them why. And I go, well, I don't know why, you tell me. And then their reply might be, well, because maybe God used a bunch of crayons to color it. And I'd be like, oh my God, you're so right. And I support that quest until they find out on their own that
Yeah,
that's not why.
yes,
But I'm not going to give them the reason why it is,
yeah,
because I don't need to educate my child. I need
no,
to emancipate my child. I
yeah,
need to allow my child to take on that growth. Like it's like a tree, right? Like if I plant a seed, that tree grows as long as it's watered, it gets sunlight, and it's got a proper environment. But I don't have to sit there and tell the tree how to grow.
but you want to check on it a little bit.
No, checking on it and providing a protective source for it. But what I'm saying is that the child, yeah, feed the child,
Yeah,
protect the child, nurture the child,
yeah,
give the child opportunity. Don't put it in a pot, put it in a big space so the roots can grow deep and it can grow as tall as it wants. But you don't tell the child how to grow. It's innate in the child. I mean, even physically, you're not, I mean, the child's growing physically.
mhm,
It's pre-programmed.
yes,
But yet
yes,
we want to override that programming and make it for our own self because
yes,
our
correct,
inner child never got to see the light of day.
correct, yes.
So it's a conditioned response. And it didn't used to be that way.
No, it was not.
In tribal situations, it didn't used to be that way. That's why you have tribes in the Amazon where the whole tribe does ayahuasca once a year, even the 2-year-old.
The
And you've got grown men and women coming in, they're like terrified, like myself. And you're like, I got to drink this? Oh my God.
the
And a
two. Okay,
2-year-old in the Amazon is like taking that down,
okay, I was with you until all right, but I'm with you there. The 2-year-old too, but
right?
you know, whatever. No, see, they're living a different life anyway. So
They did. I mean, in the jungle, it's completely literally the children drink ayahuasca at one time in the year. It's because it purges the whole entire. They give them a child dose, not like an adult dose, but still, it's like it's because jaguars eat it. Yeah, have you seen Joe Rogan where the jaguars are like totally tripping balls eating ayahuasca?
Yes, I've watched. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I'm like, what in the hell? The jaguar knew it?
No, it's critical. It's crucial. It's crucial, and a lot of people, which they struggle to, um, people do struggle with a lot of like inner childhood wounds, and it's understandable, right? Everyone has all kinds of wounds. Everyone does. Like no one's like off limits. Like we all do, and they also take place. But it's how we later at one point decide to react, not initially, yeah, we had the earlier our earlier life, we decide to like react in very outwardly ways, but
Well, you
it's
know
how
why?
we
It's
internalize, right?
because we put beauty in a box.
Yeah, and it's wrong, right?
We've put beautiful in a box, and we try to put everything in a box. So we took our childhood traumas and we put those in a box and we put them away because they're not beautiful and they don't measure up, but actually they really are. So
They're
we
important.
haven't learned to celebrate our wounds.
the pain
Like,
the pain points
yep.
of.
But
Yeah,
all right, I'm going to head out because I got to get ready to get up.
no, all right, well, that was
So
super 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 awesome, and
thanks everybody.
we have to have you back again. That way, we can chat more about like like your book and like just like your own journey as well on its own, like separately,
Yeah.
and your new book again. You can like begin to like
Yep.
talk about it. That way. They know where to be expecting it in the future
Perfect.
time, right? As a
Perfect.
process.
Yeah,
So totally
I
done.
appreciate it. Have a good night, everybody.
All right. Thank you, Ryan. Guys. So, well, I hope y'all enjoyed our segment with Ryan. He was amazing. I was happy he was bold and brave and courageous to come up here on the platform without any preparation. And again, he put the link in the chat, guys. So if you watch the replay, the link is in there, right? The Amazon link, Scout, put the link there, guys. All right. We'll get him up here again. We will get him here again. Look, I bought the book. This is what, last year? God, Ryan, I forgot when it was. Jeez Louise. But hold up. I'll buy me one more book. I'll mail it to you. Autograph it for me. Anyways, guys, we will have him back again as long as he is willing to come on, right? And that was a beautiful segment as we close out Scorpio season, guys, because that could not have been more beautifully put together. Think about it. It has been a difficult season itself, right? When you unveil and unmask the layers of yourself, of oneself, right? You're forced to face the reality, right, of the truth in many aspects of our life, right? And how we deal with those pieces will vary from person to person, all right? And at the end of the day, we have free will. We can sit in the mask, hide under the rug, or we can decide to face the beautiful part that our heart, our soul is begging to become, right? So the choice is yours. We all have free will. As we close out the Scorpio season itself, guys, right? We've closed out and we've come to complete what cycles have closed out. The truth has been revealed. The clarity has been there. It's complete. It's complete. Where you go from here, from there to here is, what will you do about it? What are the action steps that you will take as an individual person? Make the phone call, make the message, make the change of your life. What will you do differently as you move into the new decade, right? After Scorpio season comes the next season, right? And the next season is, expanding upon the newness. Now, do you want to expand upon the oldness? Or do you dig your hole deeper? Or do you want to expand upon the newness, the growth, right? The part of you that has been dying, begging, holding on for you to say, I'm here, come see me, I'm right here, right? It wants to be acknowledged. The inner part of your heart, your soul, has been asking to be acknowledged and validated, right? Are you gonna let yourself be holding on the the stadium seats, waiting, watching, and hoping, or will you finally bring that part of yourself into front and center and take action with the whole of you, the core of you, the true higher self of yourself? We all have free will, and this decade is about to define us going forward. You can dig your heels into the past and repeat those cycles for 10 more years, or you can decide, no, I'm done with that. I've learned those lessons. It was painful. I didn't like it. It was uncomfortable. But I'm willing to double down on my future self. I'm willing to double down on who I will become. I don't know what it looks like, what will be unveiled and uncovered in the whole process, but I'm willing to jump in, 2 feet, jump in, and just take the gamble, take the journey. Where do you stand? That is how we end and close out Scorpio season, guys. Much love and much light. All right, till next time, guys.